Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at 5 ERD pieces and the references that are used on each garment. 3 of the pieces I found, I believe, are like original discoveries with it not being posted anywhere else. And usually I have some long intro, but let's just get into it. The first piece we're going to be looking at today is the Ideology Materialized T-shirt and Longsleeve, with the long sleeve being a Maxfield exclusive. On the front, we see this picture of someone's eye, and this is actually from the cover of the first volume of Research magazine. I'll give some context about the magazine Research, as Henri has pulled from it multiple times, and he uses graphics from it in 3 of the pieces featured in this video. Research magazine was founded in 1980 by V. Vale out of San Francisco. It actually grew out of an earlier punk zine called Search and Destroy, which he started in the 70s. While Search and Destroy was heavily just focused on punk culture as a whole, Research was more about like underground art, with it featuring a whole bunch of graphics as well as interviews from different underground artists. I discovered this magazine after going on like the Anti-Public Library Instagram page, and then I recognized that picture of an eye and kind of matched it to the shirt. And then I looked at a whole bunch of different scans. Oh, actually there's no scans, but there's just eBay listings and things like that to see the stuff in the pages on the magazine. If you saw my previous video on Exit, it's in a similar vein, but I definitely say it's a little different. And unlike Exit, they're still publishing today. Anyways, moving on, the text on the front of this garment is kind of displayed in a Q&A type of way with a question and 2 answers. The question is, how can the masses be made to desire their own repression? This is referring to Wilhelm Reich's work, The Mass Psychology of Fascism, and just all of his writing in general, kind of. In this book, Reich goes over a lot of things, but for like a quick summary and like probably gross generalization, he kind of asks the question why Germany went to fascism instead of another authoritative government such as communism. One of his main arguments was due to Germany's kind of more conservative like sexual repression, to where children were like sexually repressed and it wasn't talked about much, and then as they grew up it kind of became a feeling of shame, and this led to like repression in many other aspects of their personality, causing them a fear for like revolt and almost finding comfort in having like an authoritative figure. He's basically saying that when we get sexually repressed as children, we end up having a sense of comfort in authoritative figure, and in this case, the authoritative regime of Nazi Germany. I found the direct quote on a website kind of talking about like discussing him and saying like this is a question that he posed, and it has like quotation marks around it, but I went into like web archives and I searched through the book and I couldn't find the exact quote. So mind you, there's probably multiple translations, so maybe that is his direct words, or it's just like one of his ideas that they put quotation marks on, but I'm attributing this to him. Hi, this is me in post here, and I just wanted to say that the accreditation could also be to just the general Anti-Oedipus, which was a text by
Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari,
where basically they were exploring the question that Reich kind of posed, which why do the masters, or why do the suppressed kind of act in a way to where it's almost like they desire their own suppression or repression. The direct quote that's found on the garment is actually, I was only able to find it on a website talking about the authors of the Anti-Oedipus, but they said it in a way where it was like they're answering his question, and then it was quotation marks, the quote that's on the shirt. So I'm attributing it to Reich, but it's probably just more generally in line with this whole like philosophical debate. And then the 2 answers to the question, I couldn't find those direct quotes anywhere as well, but I assume that they're lifted from something, as just going off of like what I've found in ERD pieces, like almost everything is lifted from something else. So maybe it's in a different translation, or Henri took it from somewhere else. Then on the back, we see the text, "Take your desires for reality," as well as having just ERD plastered there. And inside of the E, we see some indicators of what seems to be like a magazine, and then it says "Forward with Libya." This formatting in text is from issue 9 of Stewart Home's Smile magazine. Stewart Home was an avant-garde artist and was mostly associated with the Neoist art movement. Neoism as a whole is kind of really hard to pin down as what it means as an art movement, but I'll give you a definition that Holmes gives himself. Neoism is a cultural movement influenced by Futurism, Dada, Fluxus, and Punk, which emerged from the male art network in late 70s. Neoism is a methodology for manufacturing art history. The idea is to generate interest in the work and personalities of the various individuals who are said to constitute the movement. Neoists want to escape from the, quote, prison of art and, quote, change the world. With this end in mind, they present capitalist society with an angst-ridden image of itself. They express their works through many mediums of art, and there was a heavy emphasis on anonymity, with most Neoists taking up the pseudonym Monty Katzen, with Holmes saying, "Anyone can become a Neoist simply by declaring themselves to be part of the movement and adopting the name Monty Katzen." Monty Katzen was kind of the idea of an open pop star, where anyone could publish under his name and kind of build onto his work or achievements, and it was heavily and basically only used as a part of the Neoist movement. This is very similar to what Holmes did with his magazine Smile, where it initially started as art that he was interested in himself, but then he was contacted by the Neoist group and kind of was convinced to basically allow anyone and encouraged anyone to publish their own magazine called Smile, and would kind of build onto this collective where anyone could publish a Smile magazine. The mention of going forward with Lebanon was kind of a play on what many newspapers would say, where it's like going forward with like X country, like go forward with England or something like that. And that was just a parody on that. This kind of fits in with the next reference, which is this faded graphic, which looks a lot like a bingo card and seems to be from the Daily Mirror, which could be a reference to a UK or a US magazine. There's a New York Daily Mirror and a United Kingdom Daily Mirror. I'm not exactly sure how this connects to the piece as a whole, but feel free to like leave your interpretations in the comments. And then the namesake of this garment, Ideology Materialized, I don't know where that's from either, so please do some research on that if you are interested. Moving on to our next piece, this is the Psychology du Fascism T-shirt. This one's kind of a cop-out. As you remember, we talked about the Mass Psychology of Fascism, that book. Well, this piece is referencing the exact same thing. It's a straight rip from the cover of the original like French edition of this book. Moving on to our third piece, we're going to look at the Neoism. There's a long sleeve and a hoodie as well. This piece is obviously directly tied to Neoism, the art movement, as I mentioned previously. The image in the center and back is from issue 11 of Smile magazine that I talked about earlier. Now, I realize this image is very low resolution, and I wish it wasn't like this either, but this is the only thing I could find. I was going on a website that archives a lot of the Smile magazine stuff, and they just had this picture super small saying what volume it was without any additional context or information. So that said, I don't know where the art itself or that picture is from. Like, I don't know what like performance art piece it was originally from, or just anything about it in general. There is a Reddit post on this piece tying it to Gustav Metzger, which is a artist who made auto-destructive art. I don't know how he ties into this piece, so maybe he's the person in the image, but this is kind of a stretch. I'll put the Reddit post up there and credit to the author as well. But, I mean, he probably knows something I don't, but I don't know how to connect those two pieces right now. The other two images to the left and right of it with the X look a lot like Istvan Kantor's blood art. Istvan Kantor was widely regarded as the founder of the Neoist movement, though it's still kind of disputed. And he's also believed to have invented the name Monty Katzen as the pseudonym that the other people would go by, and himself would also go by that name. He's an avant-garde artist, specifically known for doing a lot of blood work, where he would basically use his blood on a canvas, and he would very often paint X's like the one seen in this photo. Now, I don't know the exact origins of this photo, and maybe it isn't connected to him, but it just looks very reminiscent and fits the theme of the whole Neoist piece in general. On the back, we get Hebrew saying final judgment, as well as this symbol. This seems to be the symbol of Genesis P. Orridge of the band Throbbing Gristle. Throbbing Gristle fits in the theme of ERD, with it being pioneers of early industrial music, as well as using a lot of controversial imagery in their shows and such. I actually found this symbol because it was seen in a lot of the Anti-Public Library Instagram posts, and in all of them they had Genesis P. Orridge tagged, so I just went on that, and that's how I found it. Moving on to our fourth piece, we get the Die in Bed long sleeve and hat. The main graphic of the kid, as well as the way this whole graphic is set up, is directly taken from, once again, Research Volume 1. This time it's not the cover, it's just one of the pages. The kid in the picture is Octavio Paz at age 10. Octavio Paz was a very famous Mexican poet. He also wrote many prose, as well as essays too. He was actually awarded a Nobel Prize for his writings, so he was very influential. I'm not sure what the purpose of this reference really is, as there's an essay or like writing that goes along with this picture in the magazine, but the only pictures I have of the magazines are really low quality, so I can't really read any of the text. I would have just picked up the first volume of Research, but right now there's only ones on eBay for like $300. I mean, it's the first 3 volumes, but still, it's just a little expensive. The little symbol on the back is the Alcoholics Anonymous symbol, which Henri references a lot. And then the little guy at the front and bottom is Lou Reed, the head of the Velvet Underground. And if you know a little bit about his personal life, he's pretty like neurotic and kind of fits in the ethos of ERD as well. The namesake and text on the front seem to come from
Hocquenghem
essay We All Can't Die in Bed. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. I don't speak French, so I'm just going to call him Guy. Guy was one of the first queer theorists active in France during the 20th century. In this essay, he's basically saying that when queer life gets normalized and put into a state where it's very polite and respectable, it loses the unruly edge that kind of makes it powerful in the first place. So he's basically saying, don't let the system tuck you into a comfy little bed that they made for you. This is very on brand with ERD's themes of transgression, as well as Henri making references to sexuality. I watched this video essay that I'll put up on screen, and it kind of helped me understand this. I'm giving you like a very brief summary, not even going into his points deep at all, but if you're interested in this type of thing, then definitely check out that video. This also connects back to like the same sphere as like Reich, with the like sexual freedom kind of theme. Moving on to our fifth and final piece, we're going to be looking at the Void T-shirt. So this shirt features a photograph of Boyd Rice, which was taken from, once again, Volume 1 of Research magazine. Boyd Rice was huge in the underground transgressive art scene, and he made art of all sorts, but primarily focused on industrial music. He's perfectly on brand for all this stuff, and Henri's definitely a fan, with his works also being featured in Exit magazine. Also, another fun fact, there was actually like a copyright dispute over this piece, and there's a lot of copyright disputes with a lot of the ERD pieces. I think Henri's just kind of ripping the graphics and then dealing with the repercussions later. But basically, the photographer that took the picture of Boyd Rice kind of got angry, like rightfully so, that the picture was just plastered on this shirt. And then Boyd Rice himself even commented on it, and basically he said that he couldn't get why people would want to wear a shirt with his face on it. So that's all the pieces I'm going to be covering today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe and all of that. I'll have my Instagrams up on the screen, like my personal. I have an archive page, and then I also have a page where I post like these references that I'm kind of talking about, but just on Instagram, so you wouldn't have to like watch the video to get them. Other than that, I'll be making probably like a Raph Simmons video next, maybe a look on the Redux book or one of the other iconic collections. And yeah, that's it. Goodbye.